Hello, I'm Kamal Santamaria, trying to explain the beginnings of the universe in a 25-minute discussion program. It'll be quite a challenge for us today on Inside Story, but such is the significance and the excitement over the Higgs Boson particle, which we will explain shortly, it warrants a good discussion about exactly where we all potentially came from. The big development is that scientists working at the CERN facility in Switzerland say they've now discovered evidence of this new subatomic particle. It's sometimes called the God particle, which is a critical building block in the way the universe was created. More on what that all means in a moment. First, this from Kath Turner, who was in New York for the announcement.
At New York's Columbia University, it's time to celebrate. It's 3 a.m. on the 4th of July, a national public holiday, but everyone here is wide awake. They've been watching a webcast live from Switzerland where scientists announced to the world the discovery of a new particle.
We're absolutely, speechless.
I wanted to show a few acknowledgements.
It took scientists more than 15 years to build a massive detector underground, which captures images of what happens when protons collide. They found proof of the existence of what looks like the Higgs boson, a crucial particle which helps explain how the universe came to be, and therefore the stars, planets and human life. The Higgs is the last missing piece of the Standard Model, the theory that describes the basic building blocks of the universe. It also solves the mystery of how objects get their mass. The Higgs boson has eluded scientists for decades. They're calling it a historic discovery, their field's equivalent of putting a man on the moon. But if you're not interested or working in science, does it really matter?
It may not improve your life tomorrow, but it will improve your life 50 years down the line. And there are many examples of that. For example, you could go back to the early days of electricity, when people were doing experiments on electricity, and somebody might have said in the audience, very interesting, but what does it have to do? How's it going to make my life better? Well, can you imagine living now without electricity?
Veteran scientists say the Higgs announcement validates years of research and experiments. It also seems to have inspired the next generation of curious minds.
I've been hearing since I was maybe 10 or 15, oh, we're going to find the Higgs. In a year now, we're going to find the Higgs. And it happened tonight while I was here. And I got to see it, and I'm just so excited.
It might take years, maybe decades, before we see the full impact of the discovery of the Higgs boson in new technology. But for now, it's re-energised the scientific community and opened up a world of possibilities many thought they'd never see in their lifetime. Kath Turner, AlJazeera, New York.
Now, we think that something as complicated as this needs the simplest possible explanation. I can promise you it won't get any more simple than me drawing a diagram on the iPad here. So let's imagine that this is the universe at the point of its creation, the Big Bang. And within the universe, all these red marks I'm putting in, these are particles, electrons and protons and quarks, they're called. At this point, they have no mass. They are moving around freely at the speed of light. But if we fast forward 1/trillionth of a second, we have the universe again, but this time with the so-called Higgs field activated. These are the green scribbles I'm putting in. In reality, it's an invisible energy field, which means those red particles now have some resistance working against them. The energy field has created drag. How? Well, I'll draw another of those particles here. And the Higgs bosons, or the Higgs particles, which make up the Higgs field, they're the green ones. They're clustering around the other particles to varying degrees. And it's the amount of those green ones there, the Higgs bosons, with any one particle, which will determine the mass and the weight of that. So you find one of these little green guys, the Higgs boson, it's probably not green, and you find proof of this energy field, which is so key to the model of the universe as we understand it. So, is Higgs boson now a reality? And actually, what does that mean? To answer this question, we are joined by our guests in Geneva. We've got Samira Hassani, researcher at the Atomic Energy and Alternative Energies Commission, which has been collaborating with CERN on the Higgs boson project. Also in New York, we've got Peter Voigt, senior lecturer in the mathematics department at Columbia University. Thank you both for your time. Do appreciate it today. And please, my apologies in advance if any of these questions are a little bit too simplistic, but I think that's the way we have to play it because it is a complicated topic. I'll start with you, Samira Hassani, over there in Geneva. I guess congratulations is the first thing I'd say to you. What was your initial reaction? Was it relief or is it, excitement at the possibilities this opens up?
I'm really very, very happy because I'm working in the Atlas experiment since 13 years. And I feel really very happy and excited today because we were waiting for such an event since really a long time. So it's a great moment today for all of us.
So you've worked for 13 years on this. Tell me, again, I'm being really simplistic here, but tell me what you got out of today. What did it tell you? How did it vindicate those 13 years of work?
I mean, we are working since a long time on the commissioning of on building the detector, on commissioning the detector, on preparing simulation, on preparing analysis. And since 2 years, we have accumulated enough data to start analyzing, searching for the Higgs. So today is just the results of all these years of work, of commissioning, of simulation, of data preparation, and so on. So now that we have enough data, we have 5 sigma evidence that the particle we have seen is the Higgs.
I think the important thing you said there is that you talked about the search for the Higgs. So the search is over.
Yes.
Explain to our viewers, what do you do with it now?
No, the search is not over. What is over now is that we believe that we have seen the Higgs. Now we have to understand the nature of the particle we have seen. I mean, the search for us just starts today, okay? Because now we have seen a new particle, but what is this new particle? The only thing we know today about this particle is about the mass of this particle. But we have still to understand what is its spin, what is its coupling with the other particle, what is the angular distribution, what is a lot of things we have still to understand. We don't understand yet.
Peter Voigt, let me bring you into the conversation now from New York for your views. You know, Samir has made a very good point there that this is only the start of it all, isn't it? There's so much more to learn. Again, I want to get more of an idea of what there is to learn, what we learnt today and what there is to learn from this incredible particle now.
Okay, so I mean, the amazing part of the story is this is something that was a phenomenon that was first predicted as a possibility 50 years ago, and about 40 years ago when I was in high school was when we first started having evidence that this theory made sense, but the one part of the theory involving the so-called Higgs field and the Higgs particle, we had no way of experimentally accessing and getting any experimental information. And so I'm now a 55-year-old man. I've spent most of my career thinking about these things. And since I was a student in high school, I've been kind of waiting to actually see this and to actually see that this part of the theory actually makes sense and is really there. And that's the significance of what they've announced at CERN today. In terms of going forward, now, of course, we want to know, is this really exactly the way this theory predicts? And already the initial results that were reported today say that they're seeing somewhat more photons coming out in one channel than you would expect. So the excitement going forward will be trying to understand in detail how this part of the theory works, and we're hopeful that there's going to be new things which we didn't expect at all to see, and perhaps we've started to see them.
Okay, I'd like to bring someone else into the conversation now as well. Joining us from Frankfurt now is Otto Rossler, who is a professor of theoretical biochemistry. Thank you for your time, sir. I'd like to bring in your, I guess, dissenting view it is of what's happened today at CERN and the whole idea of this particle.
Oh no, by no means. I'm quite happy with the discovery of the Higgs particle, which seems to have happened today. And what is interesting is that the energy that was used to discover the Higgs particle is 64 times less than the energy that the LHC is running at for the whole year now already, or for a long time, last year and part of this year. And this energy could be reduced, I would suggest, by a factor of 8 to make the experiment non-dangerous for the planet. Otherwise, it's a beautiful triumph of science.
You think it was worth all? I mean, there must have been huge costs involved. Do you think it was worth it all?
Only if the energy is reduced immediately, and even then it might have been too costly because of the risks already incurred.
Samira Hassani there in Geneva, I hope you heard what Otto was saying there about the energy. What's your response to that?
Yeah, but maybe I can answer by another question. What is dangerous with the energy of the center of mass? I mean, the LHC was built to run at 14 TeV, And now, the first year we have run at 7 TeV, and this year we have increased the center of mass energy to 8 TeV. So what is wrong and what is dangerous with the increase in the center of mass energy? Of course, as maybe you have seen in the seminar, when increasing the center of mass of energy, we gained in acceptance, of course, and we become more sensitive to the Higgs boson. So I don't see the point. I mean, we need this center of mass energy in order to search for the Higgs.
Okay, Otto, quick answer from you.
Yes, I mean, this might be the case. If this is really the case, that Higgs could only be one with this very high energy, then the whole planet has taken a very high risk for this discovery. It would be the most, how should I say, the most costly discovery of history. It could cost all humankind its existence, because black holes might have been created at the same time, and one of them might already reside inside Earth to eat it out within maybe 5 years' time, to shrink it to 2 centimeters. So the risk was very, very high. And Professor Peter Higgs would be to congratulate, but maybe he says something about this danger. He has to defend CERN against the public opinion of a whole planet. This is what I would say.
Okay, we've stepped into some other territory here about black holes. Peter Voigt, just bear with me. I haven't forgotten about you over there, but I do think I want to get a quick answer from Samira just first of all, because she was smiling whilst Otto was saying that.
Yes, now I get the point. I mean, you were talking about the black holes that may be produced with such a high energy. And here I will not try to enter in any polemic. I mean, you got an official answer from CERN concerning this, and my understanding
no, there's no answer
as a scientist is
it's
that
not true. CERN never said. CERN never said.
I mean, this polemic was already before the LHC start in 2009. I mean, this polemic about black holes and so on.
The definitive proof of danger was only published this February, a few months ago, and CERN refuses to answer to this danger.
Okay, Peter Voigt,
no scientists on the planet.
Okay. Let me bring Peter Voigt back in.
Okay, sorry, I don't feel competent to answer to this question. I mean, I think people
you're very kind,
from
and please
the
don't feel offended.
And also people from...
Yes, everything you say, I agree with.
Okay, so I will not answer, but I think the official answer exists, and the official answer is that there is
there's no official
risk.
answer.
Okay.
No, there is no.
But I don't want to enter in this discussion.
Yes. Tell you what, folks, we'll agree. We'll agree to disagree on that just for the moment. I'll bring Peter Voigt back in from New York, who's been listening to all of this. I guess where I started this question before we got into black holes was cost, and whether this was all worth the cost, or I guess, as Otto was saying, potential cost.
Yes. Wait, so which sort of cost are you talking about? The financial cost?
Well, why don't we do both? Do the financial cost first.
No, well, I mean, the financial cost of these experiments is certainly significant. You're talking about a $10 billion scale of this experiment. On the other hand, it's something that we've been doing for over 20 years. So the actual cost per year is not that large, and it's of a scale which society, the Western European and the U.S. Governments have decided is worthwhile to do this kind of fundamental investigation into physics, and so I think today has been shown a great success of this effort, and I think it's very, very well worthwhile the financial cost. Civilization has learned something very, very deep and very important about how our world works at a relatively small cost compared to many things, and I just would say that about the worries about black holes and these very speculative worries, those costs I actually don't believe in. I think there's not any reason to take those seriously. Those are very, very obscure theoretical speculations, which we have very good reasons to believe cannot possibly be true.
So where did all the black hole talk come from? Because it is one of those things that, and maybe the media is to blame slightly here as well, it's a sort of a headline which comes up about this potential risk. Has it all been sort of blown out of proportion?
Yes, and I think, but the theorists, I think, are also to blame. I mean, the other great thing that the LHC has shown us is that a whole range of speculative nonsense, essentially, about black holes, about all sorts of extra particles, about extra dimensions, that these things are not there. There never was any evidence for them. Many theorists, because they've been frustrated at not making progress and not having something to do, have kind of come up with these very speculative ideas, without any serious backing for them. And so the fact that theorists started talking about very obscure possibilities of producing black holes at the LHC is kind of what started all this. It then got blown out of proportion by the media also, but in some sense the theorists themselves are to blame for kind of bringing up these kind of very, very speculative ideas that actually have no backing. There really is no there's no way you're going to produce black holes at the LHC.
A dialogue here?
Otto, quick answer from you, then I know you're
dialogue, sorry.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah. You mean me, myself?
Yes, go for it, Otto.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. So the black hole danger is still there. No scientist disproved it. And actually, there is a proof that CERN cannot detect its own black holes because its detectors are blind to black holes. It's a very, very strange situation that CERN refused to discuss this question. It refuses to update its safety report after 4 years. So the whole planet is forced into this. It is forced feeding. It's wonderful that we are being force-fed the Higgs boson now. But the risk, the cost is possibly infinite. This is why this has to be discussed. The machine has to be stopped immediately unless the energy is reduced by a factor of 8, as I said.
Well, on that point, Samira Hasni, let me bring you back in, because, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I have read that the LHC, as you've been calling it, the Large Hadron Collider, is actually going to be shut down for 2 years at the end of this year for more work on it or something. Is that going to hinder the progress that's been made, or have you got plenty to work on from here?
So we are going to enter in shutdown, in a long shutdown, starting maybe from January of the next year. It will depend on the luminosity we will accumulate during this year. So probably we will run proton-proton collision up to the end of the year, and then we will have heavy ion collisions. So, and then we will enter in a long shutdown in order, in what we call upgrade of the detectors. So this will be, again, a very important period for upgrading our detector. So these are the plans, I mean the official plans from CERN.
Right, and you can work without the detector. The point I was making, that you've made a discovery like this, there's enough to go on with whilst the Hadron Collider is not operational.
No, I mean, during this time, what we will do is that we will first try to understand correctly what is the particle we have discovered, okay? And this will take us time. I mean, we are not going to understand this in the next 2 months. This may take longer, and this may take 2 years, 3 years, in order to understand all about this particle. In the meanwhile, I mean, there will be other teams, of course, working on the upgrade of the detector. And with this upgrade, what we hope, of course, is that we will have also other kind of data to understand in other ways with higher luminosities and so on the properties of this particle we just discovered. So our work is just started, and we will continue during the shutdown to refine our understanding of this new particle.
Okay, understanding has been such a key word, I think, which we've repeated a lot today. Peter Woit in New York, I'll come back to you. For our viewers at home who are hopefully learning something and understanding the significance of today, can you bring it back for them again? And tell a viewer at home why they should care about what's happened today and what difference it'll make to our understanding of, well, everything around us, I guess.
Well, I mean, this phenomenon that we finally have some experimental evidence about is really truly fundamental to how our world works at a basic level. What gives particles mass? You know, what causes certain forces to be long range, like electromagnetism and the phenomenon of light, and other forces to be very short range and behave very differently. So the whole fundamentals of how our physical world works are perhaps the most mysterious aspect of our theory. Is is this Higgs part of it. We just haven't had any experimental evidence about it. We don't really understand very well that part of the theory. That's the part of the theory which has a lot of arbitrariness in it, and there's a lot about it which is clearly not completely convincing. So you know, what's happened today is we've started on a road of actually getting experimental evidence about this this part of our theory, a most fundamental theory of how the world works that that we never had before, that we've been waiting for 40 years for, and what. So we don't know where this will lead, but it's a very exciting time to finally be able to start seeing this.
I think about recognition for this sort of thing. I guess I think about prizes like a Nobel Prize for Physics. I mean, is this, as far as significance go, is this up there in those realms, do you think?
Oh yes. And so, I mean, this is the kind of discovery that would clearly deserve a Nobel Prize for the experimental discovery. I mean, one interesting phenomenon here is that in the past, such prizes have often gone to certain specific people who are the leaders or the designers of these experiments. Here you have, I guess, 6,000 physicists working on those two big experiments. You also have all the people who designed and built the machine. So you have thousands and thousands of people, and there aren't certain specific leaders who you can point to. And it will be interesting to see if the Nobel Committee decides to reward this very large group in some way.
Samira Hasani, let me come back to you. I'm sure you've heard what Peter's been saying and the excitement with which he speaks about this discovery. On a personal level, how does that make you feel? Peter said he's been waiting 40 years for this discovery to be made, and you've worked on it. How does that feel?
You feel just very happy. I mean, I'm really very, very happy. And I mean, it's not myself working on this. I'm also happy with all the students that I have supervised working on this, all the postdocs also. I mean, we are always working on teams, so I'm really happy because of this collaboration with all these people. And okay, the only word I can find is just I am really very happy.
I can see that. What's the next big thing for you then? I mean, obviously, as you say, it's a very long process and there's so much to discover, but is there another big hurdle? Is there another big goal now?
Yes, I think for me the next step is to try to collaborate with the other, of course, Atlas members, but starting first from my student and postdocs, and that we start trying to understand the mass, the couplings, the decays, and so on. And I think this will be the aim of thousands of people again in the collaboration. So this is our next step, let's say.
We'll probably be talking.
As I said before, we are going first to collect more data, and this will give us more informations. And I think the real work will start by the end of the data taken, because then we will have enough statistics, and then we can start the real work.
Must never stop learning, never stop discovering, isn't it? Thank you so much to all our guests. Samira Hasani there in Geneva. Otto Rossler was in Frankfurt, and also Peter Voigt in New York. Thank you, everyone, and thank you to you, our viewers, for joining us for Inside Story. You can send us feedback on this show or an idea for a future show if you like. InsideStory@aljazeera.net is our address. I'm Kamal Santamaria from the whole team. Thanks for joining us.